All right, Angie.
Yes.
Angie, where'd you grow up? Where are you from originally?
Oh, goodness, this is going to be embarrassing for anybody that sees it here. Decatur, Illinois, Macon County, home of the soybean fields. Please don't let anybody hear that part, though. People down here know I'm a Yankee. It'll be over with for me.
Tell me about your family.
Okay, so my mom was 2 years older than my dad. My dad was just kind of like a pothead, his lazy dude, whatever. Mom got with him. She got pregnant. He took off while she was pregnant. So she kept me for about 3 years and then dumped me with my grandma because she was a drug addict, pretty much like my story, drug addict, prostitute, whatever, lifestyle just kind of crazy. My grandma had me and my two nephews, cousins, not my nephews, my cousins. And she had us until I was about 10, and then my dad came back and had gotten remarried and I guess decided that he wanted to have, his family or whatever. So he got me, and that lasted for like 2 years until I ran away because the stepmom thing, you know. But as far as like, up until that point when I ran away though, like even bouncing around from like my grandma to my dad, like my life was normal like as a kid, like great Christmases, family vacations, you know what I'm saying? Like my dad was in the army, so,
Nothing traumatic.
yeah, no, not at all. Well, no, I did, have somebody that did sexually abuse me, my mom's second husband, before my grandma got me. But I mean, I was young. I mean, I was like 3 and 4. I don't actually remember it. I know that by the time we went to court, because it happened in Dallas, Texas, by the time we went to court for it, I was like 7 and 8. And I mean, I didn't really remember. All there was just the hospital reports, the stuff that, and documented what had been done to me, physically or whatever. But I can't say that, like I said, I don't remember any of the abuse at all, like at all. So as far as childhood, I was straight, It was until my dad, got remarried, and my stepmom resented, I guess, me because, she had 2 kids with them, and I guess I wasn't her kid. So it was like, I don't want anything to do with her. And she was pretty abusive to me physically, just would do things like when my dad wasn't around, and she would tell me things like, I was trying to fuck my own dad, and, how I was going to be, pregnant by the time I was 13, and, just all these horrible things. And, so eventually I just couldn't take it. And I found out that my mom was in Texas, and I got on a bus and showed up in Texas, like literally just showed up at 11 years old and called my mom and told her I was at the bus stop in Houston. And that was that. And then within a year, I was pregnant. I met this Mexican guy that lived down the street from where my mom lived. And of course, my mom didn't want me there, you know what I'm saying? So it was just always fighting and arguing and yelling, and just, like I would come home from school and like she'd be in the bedroom like fucking a trick, and like I would try to knock on the door, and like she would like open the door and like throw a radio at me and shit, you know what I'm saying? And tell me, get out the fucking house and whatever. So I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to put up with this either. So I met this Mexican dude, and next thing you know, I'm pregnant. And we lived with his parents. I moved in with him and his parents. And, Mexicans, it's like the more babies, the better. So
You
like
started early.
7 months later, I was pregnant. 7 months after I met him. Okay, so my first son actually wasn't his. I was, very promiscuous, and I don't know who his father was. I mean, I was 11 years old, 12 years old, just fucking, like it was nobody's business, I couldn't even begin to tell, Jordan who his real father was. But, I met Ray, and 7 months after I met him, I was pregnant. A year and a half later, I was pregnant again. 2 years later, I was pregnant again. I finished high school though. My high school had a really great parenting program because I was pregnant all during the 90s, and that was like when the teenage pregnancy was like, running rampant or whatever. And they had a great program. I'm so thankful for that program at my school, Miss Powell and everything else. I wouldn't have graduated. And I got to graduate early, 17. Started college at college of the mainland in Texas City, because I lived in Dickinson. And I decided that even though my dad was never really in my life, and I guess he was like a letdown to me, I wanted to be like him. He was a cop from Mandeville. He was in the Army for 26 years. He, retired Command Sergeant Major, which is like, oh, wow, whatever. So I thought maybe if I was like him, then maybe he would care about me, So I went to school, college in Mainland, started criminal justice, and the head of the criminal justice, maybe I shouldn't say any names, huh? The head of the criminal justice department there was the former head of the sex crimes unit for the FBI. And that was the first trick I ever turned.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I thought that we were just going to go, I thought if I fucked him, I was going to, pretty much be guaranteed a, better job with the co-op, because I was co-oping and, wanted to do the work at the police station and everything. And I wanted to work at the best police station there in Galveston County, which was League City at the time. And I was like, okay, well, I fuck my professor, I'll get everything that I need to do in school. And when he walked out, he laid down two $100 bills on the dresser. And I was like, what is that for, Mr. Kettler? And he was like, probably the lifestyle you're better suited for. And yeah, he was right. So my ex-husband ended up, my kid's father, ended up molesting a girl in the neighborhood, a 7-year-old girl. And unbeknownst to me, he had a crack habit. And at this point, I've never been on any drugs or anything in my life. Like I said, I'm going to college. I'm doing everything right. And he was smoking crack and molested one of the neighborhood girls and got caught. And he ended up in prison in Texas. And he still has to be like on the sex offender registry. So he could never be around my kids after that or our kids after that. And that's like really hard to deal with, because it's like, well, fuck, how the hell are you married to somebody like this that, and he was only a year older than me. So it's not like, he was anything weird between us or whatever. But anyway, so, my kids stayed with his parents. And at first I was staying with them. And, after a while, their true feelings about me came out and, they pushed me out of the house. So my 4 boys stayed behind. And I just kind of got tossed out into the world and went to go work at a bar in Houston that everybody called a pony bar, and I didn't really know what that was, but I just knew that it was a Mexican place and the white girls would get hired really easy and you could make a lot of money, and all you had to do was just let the guys buy you drinks. Every drink that a guy bought you, you got a ticket. And it was like the guy paid $20 for the drink and you got a ticket and you got $10 at the end of the night. And quickly found out that that was just like undercover for like Mexican whorehouse. And so I mean, it wasn't even like a thought like to start tricking. Like it was just like all the Mexicans, all this money, and like a white girl, and it's like, oh my God, this, they think that we're queens. Like, these are like what we call paisas, like they're fresh to the country. They, they'll do anything to get a white girl. So, I mean, I made so much money that it was just ridiculous. Like, I didn't even know it was possible to make money like that. And doing that, out there in Houston at that time, that was like 1997, 98, 99. There was no internet stuff yet. But there was a lot of pimps, and so I quickly met one and got introduced to that whole lifestyle, which I don't really like pimps. When it comes to the pimps, I don't care if a girl has a pimp or what, it's not for me anymore. But there's some really good pimps out there, and there's some really fucking shitty ones. It just depends on how, what type, I guess, female you are, because in the beginning, I didn't do drugs and I was just tricking for the money, So it was like completely different. My first pimp was, his name was Andre McDaniels. He, we called him Dre. He owned a bunch of massage parlors in Houston. So all the girls worked in studios. They didn't work out on the street. And that was great. I mean, that was great. Like from the time I was 20 to the time I was 25, I think, I was with him. And then we were just all sitting in there one day in the studio, and like the feds and all these people run up in the place, and they take Dre and Pookie and Big John and Pookie's, girlfriend, and then the feds are coming in, and all of us girls are just like sitting there. He's got 19 girls, and that was scary because it's like, well, our whole life just got taken away. All the money we've made, I've been with him 5 years. Everything I had developed in the last 5 years is gone, and you're not getting it back. And what the fuck do you do now? We can't even go home, So I quickly figured that one out, and by that time, internet had hit, and there was Craigslist and Backpage and all that stuff. And so I stayed around Houston for a little while and like did the studio thing. And then I met my second pimp, and I was with him for 3 years. And then he got arrested for human trafficking. He was bringing back girls from Guatemala. And that was fucking crazy because I sure never saw that side of him. I actually saw one of your girls that you had interviewed. I told you she had the same tattoo as me, YP. I don't know if she knew that, but yeah, he ended up going to prison. He's still in the feds now for, bringing back underage Guatemalan girls. Crazy. Never thought that. It's just so weird how you can just know people and never know like some of the things that they do, So once again, it was like, well, what the fuck, here I am just stuck out. I'm losing everything. And that's when I just started running with a bunch of independent girls. And, these girls were, I guess because they had no direction in their life, they were just getting high. It was like, turn a trick to get high to turn a trick. And, so I started getting high. First thing I did was coke. I used to shoot up coke first. And I went straight to the needle first. I saw these girls smoking on a pipe and all this shit. And then I saw a girl shooting up, and I was like, well, she looks like she feels a lot better. So I want to do that. And I shot up coke for 3 years. And then got turned out on heroin. At that time, there was a flood in Baton Rouge. And it was shut down. It was like a hurricane had come through. And for some reason, it like flooded Baton Rouge really bad. And I was out there working in Baton Rouge off the internet. And it was crazy because like I was shooting up coke, and I remember my dealer was like, yeah, I'll come out as long as you're getting like $300 or more. And like, there's no hotel, nobody has generators, nothing. Like all the lights are off in Baton Rouge. Like, it's just dark, and here I am in a hotel room just like shooting up coke. And so I went to go buy some more coke, and his girlfriend actually gave me a bag of heroin. I guess she couldn't tell which one was which. And I went back and I shot up the heroin, and it was like, okay, yep, well, this is it. I guess I kind of missed the point in the story where my ex-in-laws, they kind of eventually brainwashed my kids against me, and I was supporting, it was crazy because I was supporting them and my children. And I think they had a lot of resentment towards me. They really in their heart felt that I made Ray smoke crack. That was the whole thing. And it was like, I'd never even done any drugs at that point. I had nothing to do with him doing that. Like, he was not only, messing around on me, like doing all that behind my back, you know what I'm saying? But like, I wasn't, so they did everything in their power to keep my kids from me. And, when you're 12 years old and you have a child, and it's, what I'm saying? Like, 9 years later, all of your kids get taken away from you. That's all you know. That's what I grew up knowing, you know what I'm saying? And, oh God, I don't want to cry. And you don't understand, like, my mom wasn't there for me, and that was cool, whatever. I had a good grandma, but my dad wasn't there, what I'm saying? Like, my dad, I felt that just, he didn't like me or whatever. And I know from the first moment I had my child, it was just like, wow. You create a life, and then all of a sudden somebody takes it away. And I really wasn't doing anything that, honestly, I felt deserved that, And I started getting high, and it was like, fuck. I don't have to think about this. I don't have to feel this. But along with, the drugs comes the lifestyle that's
very different, you know. You could go from being on the internet making $300-400 an hour, but when the calls aren't coming in and, you know, you go out on them streets and it's like you got to do anything to get high, you know, that's when the shit starts happening. You know, I've been picked up off the street and, you know, gone into an empty apartment building to turn a trick with one guy, and then all of a sudden there's 5 of them walking in. And, you know, like when it comes to, I'm sure you've heard all types of crazy stories, you know, like who wants to dwell on all that shit, but it just, I guess, comes with the territory, you know. Been robbed, been raped, you know what I'm saying? All that crazy shit over and over. Eventually it gets to the point where it's like, you're going to rape me? Okay, just please wear a condom, you know, like, I don't even care, you know, so what, you know, you just become so desensitized to sex, you know what I'm saying? And like relationships and all that shit, you know, never had a successful relationship because, first of all, you know, like who wants to have a prostitute as a girlfriend? And if they do, there's probably something kind of fucking wrong with them, you know. They're obviously not going to be very good for you anyway, you know. And so I've always been alone and just, you know, but the drugs are just, it's kept me from, you know, my kids, you know, just, that's just always been my number one problem. And no matter what I tried to do, you know, and by a certain point, they've grown up and I've been trying for so long to get back in their lives. And, you know, now they're 15, 16, 18, you know, and they're doing their own thing, you know. And it's like, how do you fix a relationship, you know, when my oldest one knows the truth and me and him are straight, we're good. But, you know, my other 3, you know, they just know that mom just left, you know. And it's like, it's so funny because I don't give a, they're cool with their dad, you know what I'm saying? Like, they write this man in prison and shit. And it's like, how the hell are you okay with somebody that molested a girl, but your mom that actually tried, you know? Like, y'all think I'm some type of horrible, you know, drug addict that just don't want to be with their kids. And that's not true. I was, you know, I didn't lose them because I was a drug addict. You know, I started doing the drugs eventually because I didn't have them, you know. And after a while, it's just the same thing over and over. It just becomes repetitive, you know. And my thing is, I would love to quit doing this and, you know, have a normal life again, because that's definitely what I had in the beginning. But now it's just like, after tricking for so long, all the stuff I've seen with these men, you know, and just their opinions of women and the shit that I do, and the other girls that I've hung out with and become friends with, and all the things I've seen, you know, it just kind of changes your perspective on things and like what's really important. You know, material things definitely are not important, you know, because you lose that over and over and over again. You know, I've been homeless on the streets, living in bandos in San Antonio. You know, actually, that's where I was 2 years ago, you know. And I got myself when COVID happened, I got scared. I kind of got scared a little bit and was like, well, fuck, I need to get a place to live. But, you know, and it just sucks because I would like to quit doing all this and just have a normal life. But now to me, a normal life seems just as boring and fucking miserable as the life I have now. So it's like, at least now I've got the drugs to just fucking keep you numb, you know. But
Is a normal life scary?
I think any life is scary. I mean,
What's your biggest fear right now?
my biggest fear? Oh, goodness. That I don't think I even have a big fear. I really don't. Not making any money to get my heroin. I want to be dope sick. You know, like I had told you, you know, like, how do you change it? You know, when you get so far into it, how do you change it? Because it's like, who's going to pay the bills so that I can detox? Who's going to pay the bills until I get a job and can get that first paycheck? And it's not that it's hard. It's not hard. Everybody goes, well, you know, you just, you know, people just think that we're just so like weak or we just don't want to do things. It's not that. It's just, how do you, you know, who's going to help you? When you've come to this point in your life, people don't really care about you anymore. You know, most people I know, like me, most of us working girls and stuff, we don't have family. And the only family or friends we have are other, you know, street people. And
Yeah, they'll be your friends and you can say, hey, that's my best friend, but honest to God, given a chance to fuck you over so they can get some drug money, they're going to do it in a heartbeat. You know, so when there's just nobody in your corner, how do you change? You know, and people may say, well, that's kind of a, you know, an easy way out, you know, to say that, but well, if somebody tells me that, I'll try it. You know, I'm not afraid to try. You know, don't know if a normal life would be any better than this one is until, you know, I get the help I need, you know, because I have, you know, mental issues or whatever. You know, I definitely have mental health problems, but like in prison, you know, they try to put me on, you know, psych meds and stuff like that. And then I'm just like sober and I'm like medicated, but I'm not like numb. And it's just like talking to somebody. How does that change anything that happened? You know, like go to therapy. It's like, okay, you're on psych meds and you go to therapy. It's how does that change any things that have happened to you? Like until you can find a way to erase those memories from somebody's head, how do they really change the way they feel? Especially at 44, I've felt this way, you know, pretty much my whole fucking life. How do you change that, you know? Like I said, if somebody tells me, I'll try, you know? Maybe it would be better to have a normal life, you know? But what's a normal life? Paying your bills, you know, getting up and going to work, you know, well, I pay my bills and I get up and go to work. Yeah, sometimes the money's slow and, you know, I might be dope sick or whatever and then that trick calls and yeah, you feel like shit, but you just get up and do it. You know what I mean? Like I'm not homeless anymore. I have an apartment and I have a dog who's amazing, you know, and I kind of got him just to prove that I could take care of something. You know, just wanted to make sure I wasn't being selfish anymore, I guess, because I was spending all my money on drugs, for real. But I even do now, you know, like other than my rent, like and food, you know. It's funny though, because everybody in the neighborhood says I'm like the most responsible drug addict. I'm like the one that everybody like comes in my house to take a shower and, you know what I mean, like shoot up in my bathroom and all the stupid shit that goes along with it. But I've always got food in the refrigerator and, you know, blankets in the winter and the hurricane, all the homeless people come and stay with me. So I'm definitely considered the most responsible drug addict in our little neighborhood there in Mid-City. But, you know, what do you do?
You been in love before?
In love? No. Because when I got married as a kid, I was 13 when I got married. Like, you know, that we weren't in love. We didn't even know what love was yet. And then I've been doing this ever since I was 20. So I've had boyfriends and I married a trick, which is, you know, the number one rule. Don't do that. But he just had told me, you know, I'll basically let you sit in the house all day and buy all your drugs and you just don't have a life and just be here for me. And I did that for like a year and a half and it was like, oh, fuck no, this sucks. But no, I don't think being in love would make me any happier. I know love. I know what love is, for sure. I know what unconditional love is. You know, I'm a mother. I have children. Could I have some more tissue, please? Sorry. But being in love isn't something that I care about. I don't know. That may be a product of being abused as a child and then, you know, being a sex worker for the last 24 years of my life. But I don't care about being in love. Is that what's wrong with me? I've never been in love. But no, I definitely know unconditional love. For sure. No. For sure.
I'm sorry, say it again.
I said I definitely know unconditional love. I know what it is to love, you know, and unconditionally love.
Because you're kids?
Yeah, fucking right. Hell yeah. That's the greatest feeling in the world, you know. I look at them now, they're 19, 21, 24, and 26. And they've all turned out pretty damn solid. And that's freaking amazing when you can create a person and even if they grew up to be assholes or whatever, I'd still love them unconditionally. You know what I'm saying? But it's just great to make another human being. That's an amazing thing. And then just to watch them grow. You know, that's when I hear all these stories about even my own mom. I call her Ellen. I don't call her mom. But I didn't actually see her again until I was like 32. So from the time I was 4 to 32, I never saw the woman. And then one of my sisters got pregnant, and her husband wanted to find out family history for medical reasons. And they searched Ellen, and they found her, and I was living in Baton Rouge, and come to find out she was 25 minutes away from me in Reserve. It was like, holy shit, what the fuck? So like a couple weeks later, and I hate my sister Glenna for doing this, she gave Ellen my phone number, and I get a call, and I answer my phone, and like, my phone's a trick phone. I don't have like a personal reason. And there's like a broad on the other end of the line, and I'm like, oh fuck, here's somebody's fucking wife calling to fucking, say some stupid shit to me again. And she's like, Angela? And I'm like, okay, nobody calls me Angela. Everybody calls me Angie. So I was like, yes. And she's like, it's your mother, Ellen. And I was just like, oh, okay. And what do you want? And I didn't know anything about like her lifestyle or anything. But I just didn't have any feelings for her. You know what I'm saying? I was like, you were never there. Like I said, I ran away to, Houston with her, but it was only a matter of 8 months before I got pregnant and, I left her house because she was just, it was different guy every day, and her yelling at me to get out of the house, go sit on the stairs, you know what I'm saying? And like, fuck, who wants to sit outside on the stairs all day, And I was just like, there's no feeling for her there, and she asked me to come, see her, and she wanted to talk to me and apologize to me for some things, and I was like, okay, I guess, and long story short, I went to go meet her, and it was like, oh my God, what the fuck? A woman was 62 years old, still walking River Road out there in Reserve, turning tricks, and just like smoking crack like crazy. Not a single tooth in her head, nothing. Living in a little travel trailer on her ex-husband's property with about 15 fucking chihuahuas. Now that scares me. If I end up like Ellen, I'll probably shoot myself in the fucking head.
Do you feel like you're walking in your mom's footsteps?
No, but it was just crazy. It's like, how the fuck have I never been around this woman, and I'm a prostitute that's addicted to drugs? It was like, holy shit, That was pretty fucking crazy. So it's like, is this shit genetic? Are we all just predisposed to be fucking, losers or whatever? Or like, what the fuck, But that is my biggest fear. That, what? Back to that question mark. That's my biggest fear. To end up like that woman. That's got to be miserable. That's a horrible woman. She did some shitty shit in her life. She lost every kid she ever had. To be with men. Quite all of her daughters were sexually abused, all three of us, because I have 2 half sisters. Yeah, that's definitely my biggest fear. But what were we talking about before that, though? Sorry, I didn't mean to jump back to that.
Tell me how you see men. Do you see men differently, you think, because of this job?
You know what? I am like, it doesn't bother me. Whatever you want to do sexually, cool. As long as you're not messing with no little kids, or fucking any fucking dead people or animals. I really don't care. I've seen so much stuff in this business. Like, I might laugh at you once you leave, and be like, yeah, you're kind of fucking weird, dude. Like, damn, sorry it takes all that to turn you on, but the way I look at it is like, there's guys that do it because they're lonely. There's guys that do it just because they're single and they have a busy life. They don't have time to go out and find pussy. You know what I'm saying? They know they can just look, pick, and go pay for it. It's easy. It's done and over with. Married guys do it because, sex with their wife is boring. I mean, I understand why all the guys do it. It really doesn't bother me. I'm a very empathic person. I'm very understanding of people. I'm not really judgmental too much unless you just are a shitbag, so.
What's your biggest regret?
Damn. That's a tough one. Probably just letting my in-laws, letting them push me to the side like that. I wish that, I don't say that I would regret having my children young, but I regret that I wasn't mature enough mentally to know how to change that situation with my kids. Damn, you're gonna make me cry again, fuck. Yeah.
I wish I wouldn't let that happen so easily. Because that's something that you can never feel. That emptiness in your heart when your kids aren't there. That's hard. I hate having to go on Facebook and find out what they're doing, and that sucks. But unfortunately, we can't go back and change anything, you know?
If you could, what would you do differently?
I said I would not have let them push me away so easily, thinking that just because they were older and married and, you know, that they knew what was better for my kids. And of course, not getting involved with the drugs, because it does numb you, but, you know, like the song says, when the drugs run out, you know, it, you know, those times that you have to be alone with your thoughts, it sucks, you know, that sucks. So, I just wish it would have been different when it comes to my kids, you know, that whole situation. But as far as this lifestyle, I don't really, you know, it doesn't bother me. Like I said, you get, you know, used to it, all of the shit that happens on the streets. And, you know, I could tell you all those stories and, you know, make my whole little story so much more traumatic and stuff. But, you know, we all know what happens to street girls, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to be just another 1 in 15 million that, you know, we all have those stories, you know what I'm saying? We all have those stories.
Angie, what would you say is the most important lesson you've learned in your life?
Oh, wow. Oh. Not to judge people. Because even though I may say, you know, you shouldn't judge us, people that do what we do and stuff, you know, I can often be very judgmental, you know, and be like, what the fuck is that person's problem, you know? What's wrong with them, you know? Why are they doing that? And, you know, don't they just know? I think I know how to fix everybody's problems but my own, you know? I'm one of those people. So I wish that I, you know, wouldn't be such a judgmental person, I guess. You know, that's my one downfall. Especially what they say, what's that saying about not calling the,
Kettle black?
right, yeah, like I'm the blackest motherfucking kettle there is, and I want to point out all the rest of them, you know, just ridiculous. Sometimes for somebody that hasn't, and I wish I didn't gossip as much, because I tell you what, when me and some of them girls get around, we be some pretty petty, hateful bitches. And not one of us has our shit going on for us either, you know? But, yeah.
All right, Angie, thank you so much for sharing your story.
No problem. Thank you.
I wish you the best of luck out there.
Thanks.
Thanks.
I so wanted to do that without crying.